How's it going, everybody? Swood here, and today we're bringing you guys a special episode. So I'm going to be opening my my Legendary King's Cup Grand Challenge chest, and then I'm going to go over my thoughts on the balance changes. If you're just interested in the balance changes, it'll just be a minute. You just got to open up this clean 12 win and the Legendary chest, or the King's chest. Hoping for Legendary here. Give me a Bandit, something. There's all my epics. Alright, nice. Got a Legendary. Please be Bandit, Ice Wizard, Inferno Dragon. No, Lumberjack. 16 out of 20 though. That's pretty good. So next up, we got this Legendary King's chest, and then go over those balance changes. I had to actually miss out on some quest points for this, but had to get it in a video, so just for you guys. It doesn't matter. Also doesn't matter. Also doesn't matter. Fly machine is not fully maxed, so do that one. Both maxed. Alright, definitely bar barrel. That's nice though. Don't have that leveled up obviously because it just came out. And both maxed. I guess I'll take a miner just so I can get the 20,000 gold now. My hound is technically 20 out of 20, so getting that extra one is just gonna make it 21 out of 20, just like my miner is. So that's depressing, but we'll go on without it. Get all these quest points. And we're on our way to our gold chest. Okay, so we're going to go over the balances that I think we should have. Because in the April update, there's going to be balance changes. So I'm going to give what I think should be buffed, what I think should be nerfed, and give my reasoning for this. Hopefully Supercell see this and they think about it. So these top 4 I'm talking about for nerfs, and these are some of the cards I'm talking about for buffs. I just had to fill in the bottom row. So starting out with nerfs, I think the Goblin Hut is still deserving of a nerf. It's at 12 goblins right now. It spawns 1. It's alive for 60 seconds, spawns 1 every 5 seconds, so a total of 12 spear goblins. It used to be 13 before they nerfed it once, and it still gives too much value. Poison is an okay trade against it, but it still gets like 3 goblins, I believe. And poison's the only good trade against it. All the other spells, like Fireball, Lightning, Rocket, they're all bad trades, or like Miner is bad against it. There's no Hog also is bad against it. There's no good way to kill a Goblin Hut. So I think they should just, like what they did with Pump is now Pump is more even. So like a Fireball and Poison are even trade. Same with Rocket, Lightning. Miner's good against it. Or you can punish with like Hog or Giant at the bridge. But Goblin Hut is a defensive building, like a tombstone when it first spawns. So it still defends, it's less elixir than a pump, but it also is a good investment. So it's overall just a lot stronger, and there's no good way to kill it with a spell or like a miner. So for that reason, I think it still needs a nerf. Poison does okay against it, but the thing about poison is people use it in decks with like Night Witch or Graveyard, where they want you to poison the Goblin Hut so that they can use the Graveyard or the Night Witch and you can't poison those. So I think they should just put it down from 12 to 11 spear goblins. I would say maybe 10, but I'm fine with just doing small incremental changes and see how that affects it. So I say 11, either like increase the spawn speed slightly or the lifetime to 55 seconds or something. But the main thing is you want spells to trade a bit better against it, and also like miner. So maybe just take down the lifetime so that the hit points go down quicker, or less hit points in total. Anyways, going on to the next one, I'll let Supercell figure out the specifics. Spear goblins, not only are they in the Goblin Hut and Goblin Gang, but they're also starting to be used just in regular Zap Bait decks on their own, which is really annoying. They're a Zap Bait card like Bats that are 2 elixir and cycle quick and threaten a tower on its own. Not to take the tower, but to do a lot of chips. So I think they should be nerfed a little bit. My suggestion is change the hit speed from 1.1 seconds to 1.2 seconds. This will also be a second nerf to the Goblin Hunt, which is a good thing. So change them from 1.1 second to 1.2 second. It's also affect the Goblin Gang, which is also being used. All these decks have Bats, Spear Goblins, Goblin Gang right now. So that's why I have Goblin Gang here. We already touched the Bats 1 or 2 balance changes ago. Change it from 1 second hit speed to 1.1, which I think was a good thing. But now I think the Spear Goblins need to be addressed. And we're just doing some small incremental changes just to see how it affects it. So those are my ones on these 3. Next up is the Double Prince. These 2 cards both got buffed like multiple times until they were actually meta, and now they're both overpowering. literally I could build the most popular deck in the game right now just using all these cards right here. That's the most popular deck in the game, no joke. And 5 of those cards, oh 4, not including bats, I want nerfed. So Prince and Dark Prince are so strong right now. They're basically used in every deck. Dark Prince even more so. It's in Three Musketeers. I've seen it in Graveyard. It's in Golem. It's in Giant. It's in Spellbait. It's in Bridge Spam. I could go on and on, but it's in like every single deck. So for that reason, I think it should get a nerf. I'm not sure what exactly it would be. Hit speed slightly higher, like 1.4 seconds. HP like 5% nerf. Maybe a damage nerf. I'm not entirely sure. That's up to Supercell, but it does need a slightly bigger nerf because it is very overpowering right now. It's in almost every single deck, and it's taking cards like Ghost out of the meta. Like Ghost is still a good card. It's balanced, but Dark Prince is just way much stronger, and the fact that it has a shield makes it even stronger. Just because like it doesn't give rocket value. You can play it behind your tower, things like that. You throw it behind a golem. You don't have to worry about a person with Spellbait rocketing that plus Baby Dragon because it has a shield, so it's still gonna be alive. So Dark Prince needs a bigger nerf, in my opinion, than Prince. Prince is a little too strong, but he's only really used in like a Giant or a Golem deck, so I think just a slight tone down on him would be better. I think maybe just like charging half a second slower or something along those lines. Nothing crazy, but I want a small nerf to Prince. I'll let you guys figure out what it is at Supercell. So that's for the nerfs. Now switching over to buffs. Poison is the strongest spell in the game right now, and for good reason. There's Goblin Hunt, there's Graveyard, there's Night Witch. All these cards you need to poison. If you don't poison them, then you're basically just going to lose the game. They're a poison bait type of deck. So cards like Fireball, especially since the Lightning nerf, have just completely fallen out of the meta. Expo and Houndloon use Fireball, and sometimes other decks just because of Three Musketeers. But other than Three Musketeers, people always use Poison, and there's very few decks that use Rocket or Lightning. They're all using Rocket over Lightning right now. So what I would recommend, this is actually coming from Colton, I discussed this with him, we want the Fireball to travel 0.25 seconds quicker, just like the arrow buff they got a while ago. So basically it would just fire quicker. So this would help like Expo or Houndloon kill minion hordes once they're played, or most importantly is fireballing Three Musketeers in the middle and being able to hit all 3 of them. You can do that right now, but it's very hard to do, so we sort of want it to be where it's easier and you don't have to play it instantaneously. Like you have that extra 2.2 seconds of wiggle room. So I think that's a good thing, and also Three Musketeers is a little too strong right now, so little nerfs against Three Musketeers not going to hurt anyone. Lightning, it has it's sort of a weird card to balance. It has a 3 radius. It used to have a 3.5. I don't want the 3.5 radius back for the reasoning that if you played a Hog Rider and then played a Lightning, they could not pull the Hog with a building to a spot where you couldn't Lightning it. The only spot that they could pull it is on the opposite side, but that's like the RG spot if you guys remember that, and it doesn't pull any like Hog or a Giant. It only pulled the RG because of that range. So it was sort of broken in the fact that there was no way to actually deny a Hog Lightning push. Like if you have a cannon, they're going to Lightning it every single time. There's nothing you can do about it. So that's why Tornado became the most popular building type card, just because it couldn't be Lightning. You can't Lightning a Tornado. So Lightning, I understand why they nerfed the radius. I don't want them to bring it back to 3.5. What I really want is them to bring it to 3.25. I don't know if that's possible, Supercell, but if it is, please bring a 3.25 radius for the Lightning. That's what we want. If not, I understand if you don't want to go to 0.25, you just want to keep it on 0.5s. Then I would recommend changing the stun duration to 1 second, maybe even 1.5 if you're not going to change the radius. Because Lightning's not used at all. I think it should be used more. Decks are really lacking without it. It's really hurting the meta. Poison's just overpowering. It's making Graveyard stronger. Graveyard itself weaker because everyone has Poison. They're defensive poisoning it. And if you buff stuff like Lightning and Fireball, that's giving Graveyard a little buff because not everyone will have a defensive Poison. And also gives Three Musketeer a nerf, which is, both of those are very needed. So 3.25 radius, hopefully. If not, stun duration up. And honestly, if you're buffing the radius to 3.25, I even could see buffing the stun duration to 1 second also. But if not, definitely buff the stun duration. I don't know if you want to do a rework with like damage and counts. I wouldn't. It's too much effort. You got to keep it the same with Elixir Collector right now because it one-shots it 6 for 6. You don't want to make it like a 5 for 6. That's bad. So that's my thoughts on the Lightning. Hopefully you guys agree. Hopefully the guys at Supercell agree and they'll make a change like that. My other cards are quickly just going to talk over the 3 down here. Knight, the last nerf, it was an HP nerf. I don't see any use for it. This sort of just killed the Knight, and everyone's using Ice Golem right now. And this is sort of making cards like Dark Prince and Prince even stronger just for the fact that, or Bandit also, those type of cards, because there's no small card like a Knight to kill them. They're just using an Ice Golem, but it kills the Ice Golem and then goes back to your tower. So the fact that the Knight got nerfed was also a buff to like Princes and all these small chargers like Bandit. So I think they should just bring back the HP nerf. I don't really understand it at all. Ice Golem's better than Knight right now, so I just say buff the Knight back. I think it's 6% HP. I don't really see the reason for that nerf. Mega Knight, they got a 25% spawn damage and jump damage nerf, I believe, which I agree it did need a nerf, but I think that was a little too much. I think it should get some kind of small buff to bring it back. Like, you went back 25%, you should like rebuff it like 10%. Not all the whole 25, but it's just sort of not used at all. Also, the one thing you need to be careful about with Mega Knight, if you are buffing it, is that Mega Knight pairs really well with Inferno Dragon, which pairs really well with Zap Bait cards like Bats, Skeleton Barrel, Spear Goblins. So be careful not to make it too powerful if the Zap Bait cards are too powerful, because then you're going to see that deck everywhere. The reason you're not seeing Mega Knight at all right now is because no one's using Inferno Dragon, because Skeleton Barrel is bad. People instead are going for P.E.K.K.A. Ewiz or P.E.K.K.A. Zappies instead of Mega Knight Inferno Dragon. 1 damage dealer, 1 splash damage. So it's either you have the P.E.K.K.A. for damage or you have the Inferno Dragon for damage, but either way you have another card that does splash, either Ewiz or Mega Knight. So you see how that's sort of the 1-2 combo. So that's why Mega Knight's not really used right now. Also the fact that it got nerfed and like Skeleton Barrel got nerfed, but with these cards over here still being popular, you need to be wary of not making it too strong, because then you're just going to see a Mega Knight right there, and like a Miner over here, and a Goblin Hat there. And then that's the new meta deck. So, I still think it should get a small buff, but you should be nerfing the Spear Goblins just to help mitigate it. We need to find a healthy balance for those Zap Bait decks. Now, brings me over to Skeleton Barrel. I think it should get a small nerf from, it was 8 skeletons, and now it's 6. I'm getting an ad on my video, or on my music. So it was 8 skeletons, now it's 6. I think it should have been 7. Again, I think it should be only buffed if the cards like Spear Goblins are getting nerfed, because you don't want to just be too overwhelming. So if you nerf the Spear Goblins, then I think it's acceptable to bring this back to 7. It should be 7, it's not used at 6, but you don't want to bring it back to 7 when other cards that are really complementary to it are still used heavily. So that's those 2. The last ones we got is Bowler, Magic Archer, and Mirror, and also the Barbarian Barrel. So Mirror isn't really used at all. Plays the troops 1 level higher for 1 more elixir, but you have to use it right after you use the other one. So it's very, very situational, and it's very hard to use. What I think you should do to fix the Mirror is, well, first off, I don't like the fact that you can start with it in your starting hand when you can't even play it. So I think one potential fix, just a small sort of buff, is let it never be in your starting hand, so you don't have to have a dead card in your starting hand. That's just sort of one of the bad things about the Mirror that I don't really understand at all. Other than that, I would say maybe instead of having it for +1 elixir to play the card, maybe just make it the same elixir. If you have to make it the same level, that's fine, but I don't think making someone play it for 1 more elixir is really going to help. It's not good with pump, it's not good with like a defensive poison. So I think maybe looking at taking it to the equal amount of elixir instead of making you play +1 elixir to play the same card. So that's my thoughts on Mirror. I'm not sure what you guys are thinking about that one, but that's what I would want to see with it. Last off, the Magic Archer, I think it should get the Ice Whiz buff, where it's like a really good card and it's really high skill cap, but people are going to take a really long time to figure out how to best use it, and especially with it being dying to Fireball, it's sort of going to take a while. What I think should be done is they should buff it so that it one-shots Spear Goblins, Also another nerf to the Goblin Hunt and Spear Goblin Zap 8 type decks. That's on purpose. I think it should one-shot Spear Goblins and then nerf the hit speed so that it has a comparable DPS to the 96 it has right now, but it does more damage per shot and it shoots slower. So that's what the Ice Wiz got. They nerfed, or they buffed the damage so that it would kill skeletons and bats in one shot, but then nerf the hit speed. So it's still a buff overall, but it's just changing the stats so the DPS doesn't change too drastically. I think that's what Magic Art should get, a small buff and also a nerf to the goblins. The fact that it's sort of only two shots Spear Goblins is sort of weird. They die to a lot of stuff. So that's my thoughts on Magic Archer. And lastly, the Bowler and Barbarian Barrel. Barbarian Barrel just came out like a couple days ago. So I'm completely fine with just leaving that for now. But my other thing that I would do is, if you want, you could just buff the fact that it doesn't knock back heavy troops like Giant, Golem, Princes. I think just giving it the ability to knock back all troops, the heavy ones included, would be a good change. But if you don't want to change it yet, that's completely fine. But something to look out for the next balance. And for Bowler, he just sort of gets overwhelmed by Mega Knight, Prince, Dark Prince, Bandit, all these cards that don't get knocked back. So, I mean, ideally in the perfect situation, he would be able to knock them back, but it's sort of awkward because you don't want him to knock back stuff like Battle Ram. So I'd say ignore that and maybe just give him like a small hit speed or DPS buff. Maybe hit speed down to 2.4 or damage up slightly, something like that. Just get the DPS a bit higher. And if Princes aren't as powerful, then I could see Bowler making an appearance in the meta. So that's my thoughts on Bowler. It's sort of a weird card to balance because of the fact that it knocks back, but it doesn't knock back all the troops. So it's hard to balance. I like the range, projectile range, all that. You don't have to worry about that. HP I think is good too. I think if you're going to buff it, it would either be damage or hit speed to overall boost the DPS. So that's my thoughts on all the cards, guys. I think everything else is fairly balanced. Just scrolling through to make sure. Yeah, I think everything else is good. Only thing maybe, people have been talking about a potential Tesla nerf just because of how used it is with Expo and sort of a nerf to Expo. I'm not sure if that's needed, but maybe a slight nerf. I personally don't have a problem with it, but I do like Expo, so I'm sort of biased there. So that's all my thoughts on balance changes, guys. Hopefully you liked the chest opening and my balance change thoughts. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Let me know. I'm happy to discuss. I always want to discuss this kind of stuff. So with this, hope you guys have a good weekend and have a good one, guys.